2026 is going to be an awesome year. We got some pretty cool stuff coming up. First off, we got Foundations of Recovery. This is our flagship program. We're starting it in January.
This is for anyone, man, woman, or couple who wants to come and reclaim their heart from shame, trauma, and betrayal. We start off with an education on all sorts of principles, give you the common language. We feed you from a fire hose in terms of all things recovery.
It is such a great start to recovery. And we get at the roots of things, Tyler. This isn't like any other program. Like, this is our healing journey in process, and Foundations is where we begin.
If you look at the value that you're getting there to kick off a good recovery with all of the right education, all of the right language, and a team to get you started while also being directed by Brannon and myself through the whole process, what a deal.
So if you're interested, if you're struggling, if you've been wanting to do something for a long time, jump into this. This only comes around every so often, and we would love to have you there.
Click the link in the description to sign up for it. And to make it even sweeter, we're also including a raffle for a free pass to the Radiant Dawn retreat. Anyone who signs up for Foundations will be added to the raffle for that free Radiant Dawn pass. If you're a man and you sign up for Foundations, your name still gets entered, and you can give that pass away if you win it to any woman that you want to.
So what you're saying, Tyler, is if you sign up and participate in Foundations, you could possibly go to Radiant Dawn for free?
That's exactly what I'm saying, which is crazy because Foundations by itself is already an insane value.
Man, I sound so salesy. But it actually is awesome. So come to Foundations. And even if you don't come to Foundations, sign up for Radiant Dawn. It's beyond therapy, the best healing experiences that you can have.
Click the link below and come join us.
What should my boundaries look like after my husband's relapse?
Welcome to the Therapy Brothers podcast.
I'm Brannon.
I'm Tyler.
We're brothers.
We're therapists.
And we know recovery.
Bring your stories, your questions, your successes with real recovery.
Hey, Tyler, you ready to have some hard conversations?
Let's do it.
Let the Therapy Brothers podcast begin.
Brannon, good to see you, man.
Tyler, how's it going?
It's going good for me.
Dude, I want to ask you something.
Every time you say that, I brace for impact.
And I always ask nice questions.
Yeah,
I just wonderful questions about life.
You usually put me on the spot and try to make me uncomfortable in some way.
Do you do neighbor gifts for Christmas?
Oh, dude. That has been like a discussion year after year in our marriage. And this year we did no neighbor gifts.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I am not like you. Brannon has dubbed himself in our family as the king of jingling, claiming to be like the most festive and Christmassy dude in our family. I don't know if that's true or not.
Ho, ho, ho.
But I would bet that you do. I would bet that you do neighbor gifts.
Well, so life hack here, and if any of my neighbors are listening, you cannot steal this. I was telling my daughter, I said, a good gift is one where you don't have to spend a lot of money, and yet the person is still like, dang, I love that, thank you, right?
Yeah, that's a great gift,
right? So I think we figured that out for the neighbors. I don't know, but I feel a little guilty saying this, but we've done it for 12 years. We go to Costco, we buy a pineapple, and we stick a little tag in it that says Mela Kalikimaka. Everybody loves a pineapple. Everybody loves it. We don't have to bake cookies. We don't have to do anything. We go to Costco and buy a pineapple.
you buy a pallet of pineapples?
Oh, I bought 70. Yeah. So last night for 3 hours, me and the kids were delivering pineapple.
Hey, that's a good tradition, especially to keep with your Hawaiian roots, since I know you guys lived there for a while. That's good for you guys to remember those times too.
One of my neighbors got it last night and was like, "Oh, yeah, it's that time of year. Thanks."
Oh yeah, it's the Christmas pineapple. Everyone knows about the Christmas pineapple.
Yeah.
It's like the Christmas orange.
Usually they're unripe and completely sour, and they probably just throw them away. But we get a lot of chocolates and cookies back from all the neighbors, so it gets the job done. Anyways, let's move on into the more important topic here. So, we got Cassidy here, and I'm actually really, really excited to have Cassidy here. We go back a ways. Cassidy, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Um, I'll let you give a little more background, even though I know you a bit. So, just share with us what's going on and give us a little bit of context to what's been going on, and we'll go from there.
I've been married for 15 years. We've been together for 17. I discovered his addiction pretty much from the very beginning, so we've had a lot of history. About 6 years ago, I caught him relapsing and was just at a breaking point. So I told him, I think you need more help. I don't think this is something you can just stop doing. So we got into therapy. In about 5 years, we did multiple groups. We did couples groups. We did individual work. Couples work, we did EFT. We did pretty much all of it. And then about a little over a year ago, I read the book, The Secure Love, and it changed my perception of my recovery. And I realized I had a lot more work I needed to do. And so I was telling my husband I felt like he needed to read it too. And at the time, it just wasn't a priority, which was pretty accurate for where our relationship was at the time. We were in a really bad spot. And anyway, shortly after that, I discovered that he was having an emotional affair. And, obviously boundaries were not there and the relationship was inappropriate, but what he considered to be like the affair took place for a couple-day period. I would set boundaries with him and tell him, if you have contact with her, then I'm done. And he would commit to me and then turn around and go right back to her. So this happened for a few days. And then one night I told him the same thing. And the next day he came home from work early and we had a therapy session. And I asked him, did you have contact with her? And he said, yes, she called me and told me that her fiance got a job. They were moving out of state. She's putting in her 2 weeks. It's like, okay, well, crap. Now what do I do? Because my boundary was broken, but felt like maybe with her leaving, things would kind of shift. So I had a therapy session and the therapist just basically let him have it, told him what he was doing was not okay and he needed to commit one way or the other. So the next day I set a boundary with him and just told him, like, I'm not willing to do this anymore. This has been horrible and traumatic and you can't commit to me and end this, then at least have enough respect to tell me that and let me walk away. And so he ultimately ended up committing and put boundaries in place, and he has honored those in regards to her for over a year. But this was a huge reality check for both of us. I think it kind of showed us where our relationship was. I think it made him aware of the severity of his addiction and what he was willing to risk for it. So he kind of decided it was time to dive into deeper work too. So he got in a group, and that has been life-changing for him. I think he's finally addressing the core wounds instead of just putting Band-Aids on them. And so in this last year, like, he's joined a group. He went to the Rising Sun retreat. Both of us did the plant medicine journey, which for me personally was probably like the most beneficial therapeutic thing I have ever done. So I feel like, and we've done a lot of the like attachment style work, the EFT. So I feel like we've really, really dived into like deeper recovery more this last year. But it's not to say that relapses haven't happened. So back in April, he had what he considered a relapse. He said he didn't act out, but he considered a relapse because he said that the behaviors were still there. And then a few months after that, it was the same thing. He said he didn't actually act out, but it was still, the behaviors were there, and that was his intent. He was just able to, he said, like, white knuckle it enough to not get to that point. Truthfully, I don't know if I fully believe that, but I kind of surrendered that if that's what he's saying and he's not being honest, that's on him. Like, it wouldn't really change anything for me. And then about a month after that, he did relapse. And he, like, I got home that night and things kind of fell off when I asked him about it. And he gave me this really great, believable story how he didn't relapse. And this is actually a win for him. And then the next day I still felt something's off. So I pushed him a little bit harder. And then at that point, I knew he was lying. And so I just told him, like, I have a boundary. Like, I'm not willing to engage in conversation with you if you're not going to be honest. And then it took a little bit, but he finally came clean and told me everything. So anyway, I don't know. I'm just struggling with figuring out like where my boundary is supposed to be. Because for 17 years, I told him if you relapse again, I'm leaving. But I've never left in 17 years. And I also feel like what's hard is like I see recovery work being done in the moments where sobriety is taking place. But the moment that he relapses, I'm getting the exact same outcome that I've always gotten. And I feel like I kind of justified it away that like he didn't have the tools and the knowledge. And, these are coping skills that he's learned from a very young age. But kind of at the point now where like you have all of this, and I don't know, I'm just kind of feeling like if he is continuing to relapse, it's because he's really not truthfully doing the work to stay away from it or to handle it different if he does. So I'm just trying to figure out what that boundary is like supposed to look like in a healthy way.
Cassidy, could I just ask for you? Sounds like you guys have been on quite a road together. There's like three questions going through my head as you were talking. First question is, through all of this, what keeps you still here? Number one. Number two, when he relapses, what is your experience when he relapses, and what does that mean to you?
I think the reason I've stayed is like I truthfully feel that he can overcome this. So it's like I think there's a piece like I don't want to give up on him. And like I know that if he can, like we can be happy together. So I think that that's the biggest thing. And then second question is like my experience when he relapses. Is that what you said?
Yeah. What is your experience to his relapses, and what does it mean to you?
It's horrible. I mean, in 17 years, he has never disclosed a relapse to me. He has gotten caught every single time. And so honestly, there's a lot of trauma around all of it, no matter like how big or small the relapse is, just for the way that it plays out. And I think that's kind of where I'm at. Like, I'm not willing to keep doing that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What does it mean to you that it's never been disclosed? What does the relapse mean to you? What does the hiding mean to you? What does the lying mean to you? What's the narrative or story that goes through you as a result of having this happen over and over again?
I don't know. I think like I try to have empathy for him. Like I understand that there's a lot of childhood wounds that have led him to these behaviors and like why he hides and stuff, knowing his upbringing. But it's hard for me to trust his recovery is honest and sincere when it's the same outcome every time.
Yeah, and go a little bit further. I know I'm pushing and being annoying here for a second, but it's hard for you because what does it mean to you that you don't have that honesty, that you don't have that sincerity, that you don't have, like, what does that mean to you?
Honestly, I think it means I will never fully trust him. Like if I can't trust him to be honest with me, even in the really hard times, like kind of feels like the foundation of our relationship, and it's just always lacking. It's never there.
There it is. So all of this boils down to, at least for you, the biggest portion of it is that the way that it happens, as much as what happens, is eroding your ability to trust him in the relationship, which means then you can't fully lean in, you can't fully trust, you can't fully, like, even yourself probably want to fully commit and feel like you're stupid for doing it if you don't have trust there.
Percent.
Yeah.
What I want to just back up a little. The Cassidy, like you know a lot. You've done a lot of therapy, read a lot of books. Like what is secure attachment? Like, I know I'm putting you on the spot, but to you, what does that mean?
Um, for me personally, or like within my relationship.
Yeah, both maybe.
I think for me personally, it's being able to trust myself, which I think plays into this, like trust that I'm putting in the work to set a boundary that I know I will follow through with. For me, like I need to know that.
Hmm.
And I think in my relationship, it's the security that like no matter what happens, we can always come back to a secure place. So we can have disagreements or we can have issues and we work through them and handle them appropriately to be able to reconnect in the end. I guess it's whatever needs to happen to be able to reconnect back
Right.
together.
So okay. What's the difference between like a codependent relationship or an interdependent relationship? Like as we're talking about honesty, you're saying I want him to be honest with me, right? Can secure attachment or an interdependent relationship happen without honesty?
No, I don't believe so.
I don't think so either. Um, and so I mean, just I have a history, a background. So a big issue in this relationship is honesty, right?
Yes.
Um, However, in a codependent relationship, both partners are kind of always adjusting, becoming chameleons, not showing up authentic, because getting the approval or the attachment of the other person is the most important thing, and there's fear there. And so it undermines like honesty because it's like, am I going to get rejected? Am I going to be okay? Um, and so as much as they're trying to be loved and be okay to the other person, they're actually destroying being loved and being okay to the other person. Um, so what does this have to do with you, right? So like as I'm talking about this, Cassidy, why do you think I'm going here with this?
I mean, I think because you have a very good insight of what's happening. So I think that my husband is so worried about feeling rejected from me that he becomes a chameleon to say and do what he thinks that I want, so he doesn't have to feel that rejection.
Yeah, and do not take this as me blaming you at all, like that. But a lot, like his relapses, have a lot to do with resentment toward you,
100%. Which is
right?
where the attachment work that like the book that I read last year really hit home. Like I'm not responsible for his addiction or him relapsing, but it was a wake up call for me to realize that I play a part in the cycles of our relationship. And I believe his addiction also has a cycle. So I kind of walked away feeling like I can either contribute in a positive way or a negative way to that while not being responsible, if that makes sense.
That's a great way to look at this. Absolutely. So I think you got to take a step back and say, like he can come along and say, hey, Cassidy, come play in this dynamic with me where you're the God, you're the one that gives me my worth, you're the one that tells me I'm okay. Come play in this. And he ends up feeling like a weakling child who has no say, and and you could take the bait of, yeah, I'm gonna like hover over you and tell you what you can and can't do. When you're in that dynamic together, that's a codependent relationship, right? Versus, so if you were to back out of that and say, okay, let's look at an alternative here, um, an interdependent relationship. Cassidy shows up to the table honest and healthily boundaried. He shows up to the table honest and healthily boundaried. Now, if you show up honest and he doesn't like your truth, does that mean you change your truth?
No, I think that's where the secure attachment comes in. We can each stand in our own truth, and even if they don't completely align, we can respect that's where the other person is at and figure out how we navigate going forward, but which doesn't mean necessarily changing it.
What if he comes along and his truth is like very triggering to you?
I think that we have a very honest conversation where both parties can be heard and understood. And then I don't know. I don't know if we find a place where we meet in the middle or we just call our therapist and we go hash it out there.
That's not a bad answer, actually.
Yeah, and I think
Because
maybe
we ran into that.
yeah, and I think maybe to add to your answer there, I like where you're going, Cassidy, but maybe that's also still a place where good, healthy boundaries come in. That if you are still extremely triggered or whatever, then you're going to need to do some things to take care of yourself, to get your feet planted, to get your head right, and then make whatever decisions you need to based off of your values and based off of what he's saying, if he's being honest. Now, the hard part is in all of this is that it sounds like there's a pattern in history where you're not getting that honesty. So
I think the problem is, sorry, he's honest. I feel like outside of relapses, that's what's really hard. And then it makes it hard to trust the honesty that I do see when in those really crucial moments he's dishonest.
right.
Cassie, can I back up with you here? Because I want to get to the crux of your question here of like a healthy boundary. So if you come to him, let's use the emotional affair as an example. This could be a hard one, but it could be a good one. You come to him and you say you can't contact her anymore. Is that a healthy boundary?
No.
No. This is a setup for the codependency in the relationship. Can you see that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
he'll either hide it from you or he'll like and then you're above him saying you can or can't do something, right?
Right.
So if Cassidy comes along and says something more vulnerable, and this is what Tyler was trying to get at with you earlier, tapping into your deep truth independent of him, about who you are and what you need. So it has nothing to do with him. But the only thing it has to do with him is he's triggered something because you found out about this emotional affair, right? So now it's Cassidy saying, "Who am I?" Okay. Now it has nothing to go back to him and say you have to do this or that or whatever. You show up to the table and say, and I heard you say something pretty healthy earlier, actually. But what are your truths underneath this situation? What are your values that are important to you that are independent of him? Do you know, Cassidy?
I mean, like, are you asking in general, like, or specific to the
No,
situation?
no. I'm asking specific to you, and there's no right or wrong. This is you being authentic, you being Cassidy. Your truth might be, I'm perfectly fine with it, and it's wonderful. I don't hear that from you, right? Your truth might be totally different than what my truth would be around in this situation. But who is Cassidy? What's important to you when it comes to what you value, and your marriage and what you need in your life, right? So there's no should here. This is yours, Cassidy. So let's say you find out that he's been contacting her again. Okay, what's important to you?
Well, I think the biggest one is like honesty. It obviously would be done behind my back, so that feels dishonest.
But hang on,
I also,
hang on, Cassidy, and I like that's still about him. So let's dig under that honesty. Why do you need honesty from your partner? Why does Cassidy need that?
because I value trust.
There you go. Okay, you value trust. You said that pretty confidently. You value trust. Do you need trust in your marriage and your closest relationships?
Yeah, I feel like it's a very big core value of mine
Okay.
with any relationship.
That has nothing to do with him at this point. That's you saying, I value trust. Okay.
Right.
Anything else about dishonesty or about why this doesn't work for you that's underneath for you? Trust. What else?
I feel like the ones that are coming to mind still boil back down to the same thing, which is trust.
What does trust allow for you to do or have, Cassidy?
I mean, I feel like it helps me feel safe and secure.
Which means What happens if you're safe and secure in the relationship? What does that mean you can offer? And what does that mean to you inside of what do you get from that?
I mean, honestly, it makes me, it allows me to feel like I can show up like authentically to myself.
Yeah. So you're so the more there's safety and trust in the relationship, the more you can fully express yourself authentically, which is probably what your partners wanted all along.
Correct.
And you probably want the same back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that would allow for deeper connection, more loyalty, more safety.
Well, more vulnerability.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you want to give that, like that you're a loving soul who wants to be in an intimate relationship. And so you value that trust because you want that deep connection, right?
Right. Right.
So this is all about you at this point. I know he did something to trigger all this, right?
Right.
But if we get, Cassidy, if we get to the interaction now with him and you go and you say, you need to stop being dishonest. You broke my boundary, you're dishonest, and here's your punishment. Boom. Now you're playing that game with him where he's the child and you're the mom, and right? Versus if you go to him as a powerful woman who can open up and protect the values that you have, that looks different. Do you know how that looks?
Maybe a little bit, but that's why I'm here.
We'll help you through it, Cassidy.
Okay, thanks.
Now it's hard because your anger and your hurt will want to jump right into that dynamic, right? You did what? Here's your punishment. I can't believe you hurt me again. You're horrible or whatever, right? Like that's normal. It's normal to want to react that way. Or it might be controlling in other ways or jumping in, right? Versus,
Yeah.
let me take a minute. I need time. I'm going to connect to God. I'm going to call my support system. I might even talk to my therapist, and then I'm going to come back and we'll talk about this. So then you come back and you say, and maybe you're vulnerable, maybe you're emotional, maybe you're not. And you just say, you know what, here's what I need, and here's what is not being met in our relationship. And for me, when I gauge this right now, like I'm really hurt. I'm really hurt that there's been a breach of trust because trust is so important to me. I want to be an authentic human that can love deeply. And right now I can't do that with you. And that hurts. Because I want to, and that's important to me, right? Do you see how you're still kind of talking about you?
Right.
And he might jump in and try to fix it or jump in and say sorry or wallow in the muck of his shame at this point, right? He might do all those things. And it's trying to pull you back in that dynamic of let's play the game of I'll be a good boy until you tell me I'm okay, right? Which feeds the resentment. When he does that do you know how you don't take the bait?
No.
Just
I mean, I feel like I have to stay grounded. Like if I stay grounded and make sure like I'm in my window of tolerance and I feel like I can see through these things clearly and step away from them.
That's it. Stay conscious, see them as they're happening, even acknowledge them as they're happening, not back at him of like, look, there you go again. Like, not like that, but it's, hey, I'm noticing that this is where we're going. I'm not going to go there right now. I just need to let you know my truth here and my boundaries of where I'm at with this. So you just kind of cut it off. Or you could even, I mean, I want to use his name so bad because he wouldn't care if I did, but you guys know enough. You got like a master's degree and all this stuff. Like you can speak that language with him and he would get it. Like he'd be like, oh yeah, okay. Like, right. And he could do it back to you. Like, hey Cassidy, I'm noticing you're telling me what I should and shouldn't do. I don't want to play that game. I want to just talk to you vulnerably and honestly about who I am, and I want to listen about who you are right now, right?
Yeah.
So, and Tyler, I know I'm taking over here. Jump in if you need to, please. Um, you express your values. You open up and be vulnerable about who you are, and then you get clear with your requests. Like you can make requests back to him. He can say yes or no. And then you get clear with your needs that are independent of him so that you know it's in your control and what you can and can't do in the situation.
Okay.
Right. So what are you hearing me say, Cassidy?
Honestly, I feel like what it comes down to is I've kind of been focused on like what one specific boundary should look like. But I think the more I sit here and sit in this, the reality is it's one boundary about honesty that covers so many different situations in our relationship.
Yeah.
What's the emotion that's going through you right now, Cassidy? Your body language is like it's telling me something about what Brannon's saying. What are you experiencing right now?
I mean, honestly, I'm kind of laughing a little bit because we had a situation that happened yesterday where I feel like this is exactly what happened. Something small happened, but it didn't work for me. And so like I told him that and he was very understanding, but he kind of went to the, like I told him at one point, it kind of feels like you're going into victim here, and that's just kind of frustrating. So when I actually just told him, like, if that's where you're at, like I'll hold space for that, but I'm not going to engage in that and get sucked into that.
Excellent.
So, which is kind of why I'm like, I think this is such a bigger boundary that covers so much I didn't realize until now.
Mm-hmm.
And once I told him that, like he responded good and apologized and expressed he was just feeling a lot of emotions, but he could see why it was coming that way. And anyway, like he was able to show up better, but
there's a hurdle, Cassidy, that I'm just gonna say it because I kind of know. You want him to be honest. Um, and and I know he'll listen to this, and the truth is your relationship lacks trust because there's been a breakdown in honesty in the relationship. And as
right.
long as I've known you, you've been like trying to figure out how to feel safe and trying to figure out how to trust. And you've done things that have undermined that, and you've done things that have worked well. And but here's the hurdle, Cassidy, and I think you know this. Him being honest is in a way it's excruciating for him because he feels like he's going to get abandoned, right?
Yeah.
Now, him being honest also could be excruciating for you because some of his honest truth could be really hard and triggering.
Yeah.
So in those moments where you're both really vulnerable, where he's saying, Cassidy, this is I, like, here I am. And you're like, this is so scary. Like, and for you guys to practice in that space, just a little bit of, okay, I'm going to regulate my own emotions. I'm going to see you and hear you. I'm going to be honest with you about my boundaries and who I am around that. But we're not going to leave this situation with you're bad and you're rejecting me. We're going to leave this situation with we're both understood and maybe we need to take some space from each other or whatever, but we both feel seen and understood here. Now, where we go from here, we got to sort that out. Do you see what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
that's a huge opportunity for the two of you to
Right.
like build what you actually want.
Right.
If he, I don't know what would like be really triggering to you, but if he wanted to like quit his job or he wanted, and he hasn't said any of this stuff to me, Cassidy, I'm making this up. So he wanted to quit his job or he needed to go to lunch with a business associate that was a woman and he worked with his recovery team and he feels safe about it and he feels okay about it, right? Should he go tell you he feels okay about it?
Yes. Yes. I mean, there was a situation happened a little bit ago. I don't remember what it was, but he came to me and said, like, this is what he felt he needed to do. And it did not feel good to me. Like, it was scary, but when he explained why and where he was coming from, and he just said, like, this is what I'm doing because this is what works for me. I walked away and I was like, I'm actually shocked because that's terrifying, but I actually feel so much more secure, I guess, with him being honest and just telling me respectfully. But
That
like, yes,
that's
like in the situation, I'd rather him have come to me and tell me that.
yeah. That
And
because
you don't
honestly,
have to like it either
right.
still.
Right.
Right.
It's weird because you won't like it, but you'll like it because it's like it's not that codependent weakling showing up. It's that man who knows who he is and can handle your reaction. And when he can do that, then you're like, oh, he'll actually show. I don't know that guy that actually just shows up rigorously honest despite the consequences.
Right. Which is the trust that comes in. Like, I trust when he's showing up honest and standing in his truth, even if it doesn't feel good for me, it actually builds the trust.
The deep work that he's done and that you've done that he's done, the deep work that he's done is going to push him to start to know himself and tap into his real worth and independent of getting his value and his worth from you, which is awesome. That's the ingredient that we need so that he can then show up consistently with you in that honest way and that empathetic way. And for you, Cassidy, hopefully you get to the point where it's like, okay, that like this is hard. But I like this. I want him to show up this way. I encourage this. Um, because I want that trust and I want to support him in being an honest man with me, right? Um, but it's not your responsibility to get him to do that. That is ultimately his, right?
Right.
I'm wondering, Cassidy, like in my head as I've been listening, I wonder if there's like maybe layers of boundaries that we could talk about rather than a single boundary. The first one would be you use the term window of tolerance, or we could also say being able to stay grounded. I wonder if that's the first layer of boundaries that you'd really be looking at is what am I going to need in my interactions with him to be able to stay grounded? When am I going to have to take a time out? When am I going to have to detach from the conversation? What am I going to do in terms of my self-care or downtimes after that? Like, because if I don't stay within that window of tolerance and I go to a flooded state, then all bets are off anyway. Right. So the minute I'm there, I think maybe I have my own personal boundaries to just say I need to stay grounded and within my window of tolerance first. When I'm there, then the next layer may come in, which is kind of some of the relational stuff and some of the things that we've been talking about. And I've been kind of just like diagramming, like, have you ever do like as a kid? Did you ever do those little books, the Mad Libs books, where you like
my kids do them.
they do them where it's like
Yeah.
they fill in a word here and there to create the whole story or whatever.
Right.
Would you be willing to do like Mad Libs for just a second?
Sure.
That took a turn. I didn't expect it.
Okay. In my relationship, I really want blank.
Probably trust or safety, which I guess are the same. So trust.
In my relationship, I want trust and safety because that allows me to blank.
Be vulnerable and show up authentic to myself.
Yeah. I think you actually want those things from me to my partner, right? Period.
Yeah.
Okay. Now to your partner, you can choose to do blank or blank or blank. You can choose to be honest.
Honest, authentic to himself.
Okay. You can choose to lie and deceive and hide.
Yes.
Choose. You could come up with 6 different blanks, but let's just go with those 2. You can choose to be honest and authentic, or you can choose to lie and hide. If you choose to be honest, this is how I can show up. If you choose to be dishonest, this is how I'm going to need to show up to protect my own heart.
Really like that.
So how are you going to show up if he's honest and authentic?
If he's honest and authentic, then I show up authentic and vulnerable.
Awesome. even if it's hard.
Right.
Okay. And I'll still have to make my choices.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. If you continue to show up dishonest and hiding, what am I going to need to do?
I would say disconnect from like the unhealthy behaviors that are happening. That's, I don't know. I can't think of the other one.
Yeah, and that might be at any different level. Might be an hour of a drive. That might be a few days away. That might be an emotional disconnection. That could be a lot of different things, right?
Right. Okay.
Which I don't think you want, husband.
Right.
And I don't want to be there either. So whatever you decide to do is what I'm going to choose to do. And now you know.
Yeah. That what like to reinforce this right here, Tyler. I don't think either one of us want that, but I will have to disconnect if I do feel that lack of trust and safety. Like I'm still going to have to do that, and it just and to protect myself. Like,
yeah, which sucks for both of us. Like, you don't want that either. I don't want that, but that's what I've been having to do, and I've been telling you I have to leave you every time. Which now I'm realizing I haven't been honest with you either, and probably you don't trust that I mean it when I say it. But I will be taking some space, and eventually that might mean leaving.
Right.
If this doesn't continue to change. Now, the second thing I wanted to mention, just as you guys were talking, is, and I think this is it, and it's starting, I see it settling in a little bit, is you can have some boundaries around the relapses, but the bigger issue in you guys' relationship is the pattern and the character flaws that have protected the relapsing.
the dishonesty.
It's the dishonesty, it's the lying, it's the manipulation, it's the playing small, it's the kind of like gaslighting. All of those things are the things that erode what you really want in the relationship even more than the relapse itself.
Right.
And so I would say it's okay for you to have discussions and some personal kind of course of action around those things, even if it's not around a specific relapse.
Right.
Those are patterns that have to be worked on and changed and shifted. And most partners, if they see, hey, my partner has this habit of being dishonest, but I see him chipping away at it or being accountable in other parts of life, there's little drops of trust that go in the bucket. And if they're not, then that's just as much of a red flag as the relapse itself. Right. And so that's where you're starting to see, oh, there's a commitment towards overall change. I'll stay in my window of tolerance and wrestle with this. But if there's no commitment towards those things, then that's going to be a whole different thing for me. Right.
Cassidy, before we run out of time, I just want to say, like, I have good and bad news for you.
Cool.
I think it's all good news, though. So you guys have crossed some thresholds in terms of your work, that your old relationship is done. Like, and you're pushing yourselves because you're doing deeper work. You're being together, and your relationship is going to get pushed to the brink. And that's a good thing. If you guys can work through this together and push through this together, you're going to come out on the other end with a completely different relationship that is awesome. But I hate to say this, you're going to have to pay the price. And what I mean by that is these little uncomfortable, messy middle moments where it's really hard for him to show up honest with you, but he's doing it anyways. It's really hard for you to actually show up honest with him or stay true to yourself and hold a boundary, but you do it anyways. And as you learn how to communicate through that, I think you'll get stronger and stronger together. Now, if you're doing that work and his addiction is like pulling strings behind the scenes, then at some point you're going to have to say, whoa, like I'm getting more and more vulnerable doing this harder work. And like, at some point you got to get real with yourself that maybe recovery is not happening. From my experience with him is he's motivated, he's learning, he's moving forward. Um, but he's finally finding the right work to do and the right things to address.
Yeah, I agree.
So, and Cassidy, I don't want to tell you you should hang in there through this. Like, that's your choice, and for him too. Like, right? Like, do you guys want to do this together? But it'll push you to the brink. But it'll be awesome to see you guys on the other end because you're both fighters and you're both going to do this. So, yeah. What do you think about what I'm saying?
Me? Sorry, I'm not considering Tyler.
Yeah, you.
I mean, he said this not terribly long ago that you had told him the same thing, and I said, "Oh, it's funny. I totally agree. I feel like the work that we've done, maybe even just in the last 6 months, has been harder than all of the years combined because it's the deeper work.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard, but I mean, even with this last year of trying to recover from everything that happened, like it's been the hardest year, but it's also been the best year. Like I have felt more connected to him and have a way deeper relationship than we've ever had, even through all of the hard.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That's good, Cassidy.
Yeah. Cassidy, thank you for your willingness to come on today and to share the way you've shared today. Any last thoughts or takeaways that you care to share before we end today?
I appreciate you having me here. I am realizing what I thought was the deeper work is actually not. There's way more underneath it that I need to figure out. But I mean, it really comes back down to my core values and what I need in any relationship. So a lot to think about.
Cassidy, I want you to know that I know you're in good hands with therapy and things like that. I have a little more exposure to him and connection to him. But I'm definitely, and you know this, I'm not on anybody's side, and I'm here for you as much as him. However I can help, however I can support you, I'm happy to help you. So,
Well, thank you. You have been a lifesaver to him for all of these years, but especially this last year. So thank you so much.
thanks, Cassidy.
Yeah. Thank you, Cassidy. Thank you to our listeners for being here with us. Hopefully this is helpful and for some of our listeners here who might be going through similar things. If you find this helpful, please share it with people that might also benefit from it. And if you want to speak to Cassidy, the best way to do that is to either reach out to us through therapybrothers.org or write a review. And until next time, keep on keeping on.